On 9/11, America lost more people than this country did for 30 years in Northern Ireland. And let me give you a quick example. Incidentally, you can read about it in my book on Bloody Sunday, which talks about the violations this state did in Northern Ireland, not just the gunning down of people. And let me just give you an example. There was a period in Northern Ireland in the 80s when this country allowed a person who became the head of the internal nutting squad in the IRA, the man who tortured and executed people within the IRA, to operate. He was a British agent, Diane. His name was Steak Knife. And do you know, Diane, that he was allowed to kill innocent people who the security services knew to be innocent and torture and kill them to keep his cover?
That's what I'm saying.
No, of course, but what I'm saying is, and what I say in my film, Diane, is that people do things like this in these extraordinary situations.
Right. Hello everyone, I greet you in the name of God Almighty. My name is Apostle Nathan Salas, and today we have a very interesting video to react to by Douglas Murray. And this one says that this isn't a hate. Douglas Murray silenced a woke leftist on Islamic terrorism. I believe that this is going to be a very interesting video. So if today happens to be the first time of you checking out my channel, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on my Facebook and Instagram. And then without any further ado, let's get down to this video and check this out. All right.
Do you know, Diane, that he was allowed to kill innocent people who the security services knew to be innocent and torture and kill them to keep his cover?
That's
what I'm saying.
That is
No, of course, but what I'm saying is, and what I say in my film,
You are about to see Douglas Murray take on a woke feminist and completely silence her with facts. The conversation was around how governments like the US and UK should respond to terrorists following recent terror attacks committed by radical Islamists. Should they be tortured as a way of interrogation? Douglas Murray presents a reasoned answer that goes against the woke mob's binary view. Douglas Murray did not hold back.
Now, isn't it a bit of an understatement when you say, quote, the CIA may have fallen short of America's highest standards in the period after 9/11? Now, it isn't the truth, is it? The CIA employed torture on an industrial scale.
Well, I do think it's worth bearing in mind, first of all, before getting to the allegations, that the dispute over this report, the Republicans on the committee did not agree with the findings. In fact, they stepped away quite early on. It's also important to remember that the inquiry did not ask or speak to and get evidence from any of the people who are actually serving at the top of the CIA at the time that this was meant to be going on. And that is a serious thing. Now, both the minority report and the CIA strongly dispute a lot of the major findings in this. But then But
do you deny that there was some serious interrogation, which in most people's eyes would be torture?
Absolutely. No, I don't deny that. And it's clear, even from what the CIA is willing to say, that has happened, and what it concedes is that on a number of occasions, they undoubtedly went far beyond what was meant to happen. And that is the sort of thing which is why we need inquiries like this. And can I just, one other point? Okay. You know, the late Democrat Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan said, and it's a very true thing to say, he said, the number of human rights complaints in a society tend to be in exactly inverse proportion to the number of human rights violations in a society. In other words, we hear about this in America. We've heard about this in recent days. In fact, we've heard about it over recent years precisely because America is the society it is. And we have to be very careful, I think, in criticism.
Douglas Murray's perspective on the harsh interrogation methods employed by agencies like the CIA offers a nuanced examination of human rights discourse and societal perceptions. By quoting Daniel Moynihan's astute observation that the volume of complaints about human rights violations often inversely correlates with the actual prevalence of such violations, Murray highlights the complexity of assessing human rights records. In societies like the US and UK, where complaints are widespread and freedoms are fiercely protected, individual instances of rights violations are scrutinized intensely, reflecting a robust commitment to human rights protection. Murray's commentary delves deeper into the broader context of Western society's self-reflection and activism. He acknowledges the importance of holding governments and institutions accountable for any transgressions against human rights. However, he also warns against succumbing to a narrative of inherent Western guilt or hypocrisy. Western societies, despite their imperfections, offer unparalleled levels of freedom, opportunity, and protection of individual rights compared to many other parts of the world. One aspect often overlooked in discussions about human rights is the necessity of balancing security concerns with civil liberties. In the context of counterterrorism efforts, agencies like the CIA may resort to controversial methods in the pursuit of national security. While such methods undoubtedly raise ethical questions, they also require a sober assessment of the challenges faced by governments in safeguarding their citizens from extremist threats.
I'm horrified that Douglas would seek to minimise what went on. It wasn't playing Kylie Minogue on a loop or slapping people. It was pumping fluids up people's rectums until their insides burst. It was making people stand on limbs which were broken in two places for hours and hours. One man died as part of this process of torture. Douglas, you and I were both British. Sure. When did the British systematically condone torture?
Don't the British.
No, let me finish.
Okay, sure.
Surely, if British values mean anything, there may have been slips, there may have been things we didn't do that were perfect. But if British values mean anything, we do not condone torture. Let me say one more.
No, let him come back. You've had a very good say.
It's a very important point. I agree with you, Dan. All of us are against torture, as I said in the film. The problem is there are a set of degrees. There is no question, Dan.
Well, what about the degree that Diane's
exactly?
describing?
There's no question.
I mean, it doesn't
if that
get
did
much
occur,
worse than that unless you start hacking up people's...
If that did occur, and the CIA and the minority representatives dispute that it occurred, if that did occur, Diane, obviously that's wrong. Obviously that has to be addressed, and we hope that it will be in the weeks and days ahead.
Shouldn't the people, if they did this, shouldn't the people who did this, shouldn't they be charged?
Can I just come back to the more...
Shouldn't they face a court?
Can I just come back to the important thing that Diane's raised? When have we behaved like this? On
no, I didn't say when have we behaved like that. I said when have we, as British people, condoned torture. Can I finish my point?
As I said in the film, these things are very messy. On 9/11, America lost more people than this country did for 30 years in Northern Ireland. And let me give you a quick example. Incidentally, you can read about it in my book on Bloody Sunday, which talks about the violations this state did in Northern Ireland, not just the gunning down of people. And let me just give you an example. There was a period in Northern Ireland in the 80s when this country allowed a person who became the head of the internal nutting squad in the IRA, the man who tortured and executed people within the IRA, to operate. He was a British agent, Diane. His name was Steak Knife. And do you know, Diane, that he was allowed to kill innocent people who the security services knew to be innocent and torture and kill them to keep his cover?
That's what I'm saying.
That is no excuse.
No, of course, but what I'm saying is, and what I say in my film, Diane, is that people do things like this in these extraordinary situations.
All right, okay, no, enough.
Most British people, Douglas, do not take torture as lightly as you do.
No, I don't.
And they want to know what the British government knew.
What do you think, Douglas, about our role?
I don't take it lightly, Diane. What I'm saying, and what I think you should take seriously, is that when another attack happens, as has happened before, the British people immediately afterwards say, why wasn't this stopped? That is also a very powerful question.
I wonder if I can
and
ask
when
Diane
they
one other
fail to answer it, we need to address that.
Douglas Murray is right again on this one.
Yeah.
In societies like the UK, where terrorism strikes evoke widespread fear and uncertainty, there's a natural inclination for the populace to seek explanations and accountability. However, Murray's point isn't to justify extreme measures like torture. Rather, it underscores the immense pressure and complexity faced by governments in addressing security threats while upholding civil liberties. Murray's critique extends to modern activism, which he sees as sometimes mired in a one-sided focus on Western wrongdoing while ignoring atrocities committed by authoritarian regimes elsewhere. This selective outrage, according to Murray, undermines the credibility of human rights advocacy and fails to address the complex geopolitical realities that shape global affairs. Moreover, Murray delves into a deeper societal issue concerning the erosion of identity and pride in Western societies. Polling data now indicates a declining willingness among Western populations to defend their countries in times of war. This trend reflects a broader narrative of self-doubt and self-criticism prevalent in Western societies, where historical achievements and values are often overshadowed by a narrative of guilt and oppression. In recent decades, Western societies have increasingly embraced narratives that portray the West as the historical oppressor, perpetuating injustices both domestically and globally. This narrative has led to a loss of confidence in Western institutions and values, as well as a reluctance to defend them against external threats. Furthermore, the oppressor-oppressed narrative perpetuates a skewed understanding of global dynamics, painting the West as the perpetual villain and discounting the complexities of international relations. By viewing everything through this binary lens, Western societies risk undermining their own sense of unity, purpose, and resilience in the face of adversity.
Wow, that's a very interesting one. Of course, listening to Douglas making his own submission. Of course, we also had Diane, even though she was interjecting as he was speaking. But nevertheless, we understand that there should be the British values when it comes to democracy, when it comes to rule of law, or when it comes to the right of every individual, or should I say the liberty of every individual. But then when you look at it in terms of human right, if there is a threat in a sense to national security, at that point in time we tend to prioritize in a sense human right in that very aspect and look at the threat the attack is causing to the very nation. Let's look at in a sense Russia for an instance. Of course, we are fully aware of what happened last month when there was a music concert, and then there was actually an attack. An attack was carried out on the people of Russia, even though ISIS tends to claim it at some point, but then later on we got to realize that it was not them. But then let's look at what that happened at that situation. Now, the people that carried out the attack were apprehended, and then before you know it, of course, judgment was being passed on them, and then from there they were executed. Of course, we do not know how does the human right in a sense come to play in that kind of situation. You see, when it comes to the situation whereby it becomes a threat to the national security, at that point in time nobody talks about in a sense human rights. So those people, you understand, we are being executed. But do you know what? As they do so, you understand, it was actually very important. Else otherwise, other people, if imagine that those people, you understand, we are not caught and they bring to book, at that point in time probably Russia today could have been attacking some innocent Muslim countries, or Russia could have still been attacking innocent Ukraine. But then we'll just thank God that those people were apprehended, and then from there they were executed. At that point in time, where was the human right? So if there's an attack in Britain, at that point in time the human right tend to cease. We have to look at priorities, because this is a situation of of national security. So if we have this kind of situation, you will not keep saying that because of people you are being tortured, as being said by Diane, then you are saying that because of they have human right, and then therefore then we should rather expose the entire nation, which I feel that Diane may be wrong in this aspect. I think that Douglas is right, because if things like that should happen, and then that's the reason why I see he keep addressing issues of this immigration. I know that of course some of you will not agree with some of the things I am also adding up to this, but of course I want to see your thought and opinion at the comment section concerning this. So this is the end of my video. If you like my reaction, you should like, share and subscribe. If you have any video you want me to react to, don't forget to drop it at the comment section and I'm going to check it out. So guys, you remain blessed, and I see you in my next video. Bye bye.